Hi gang, Rob here. It's the evening of 16 November 2015 and I've got a video for you guys tonight that I'm pretty excited about. I don't know how excited you're going to be, but I'm really excited about it. You can tell by the name on the box that this is a Bark River knife from Escanaba, Michigan, USA. And the reason I have one of these is because following my trip a few weeks ago to Escanaba to visit Mike Stewart at Bark River Knives and Derek Bone at Knives Ship Free, I just had to get one. I didn't own a Bark River knife before now. I've always kind of shied away from them because the world of the convex grind, and most specifically the convex edge grind, was something I was unfamiliar with. I didn't have contempt for it. I appreciate the geometry and the design, the engineering of the convex grind. I just wasn't proficient at resharpening it. So I've been on a crash course because following my video series from Escanaba, several of my sharpening customers have bought Bark River knives and had them shipped to me to sharpen. So my learning curve has been pretty steep, to say the least. And I've been working on it. And I've got a couple of my knives, and I've got a couple open L's, and then this knife that are going to meet my convex grinding system, convex sharpening system. Enough of that though, let's get into the knife. It is the Bark River Gunny Hunter. Now, the Gunny is an interesting knife from Bark River because it started out, the family that spawned this knife started out as the Bravo 1, which was a knife designed with input from Force Recon, a division of the Marines, and they requested a knife from Bark River Knives and Mike Stewart to meet their needs in the field. And the Bravo 1 was that knife, and the Bravo has, that knife has generated some siblings or some cousins, and it got bigger, it got smaller. They're making it, 1.5 times its original size, all the way down to an EDC blade. And the Gunny was the first smaller Bravo. The Gunny Hunter is essentially a Gunny without a jimped thumb ramp and a little different blade geometry to make it suitable for hunting. Now, why has this Bravo series knife been so popular in its many forms? Well, for one thing, it just looks right, doesn't it? Just a perfect drop point blade with a perfect handle. Bark River's signature Coke bottle shape, which doesn't just look beautiful, it's great in many grips. Blade styles change subtly depending on the application. The Gunny Hunter was my favorite of this series, and the reason this is the model I went with is because of its dimensions. It's something I can actually carry every day doing what I'm doing. Instead of carrying a large folder, I can carry the Gunny Hunter on my hip in the provided sheath. And Derek and Tyler actually at Knives Ship Free were nice enough to run down the street when I ordered this and swap my right-handed sheath for a lefty before they mailed it to me, so I didn't have to mess with mailing that back and having Mike and the guys swap it after I bought the knife. That was cool. But here's sort of the dimensions on this knife. The blade is 3 13/16 inches long, and the handle's 4.5. It's just super great proportions. The stock thickness of A2 tool steel is 5/32, so about 156 thousandths-ish. The blade is not quite an inch broad, and it is convex ground from about 3/4 of its breadth. And it's ground to, as most all Bark Rivers are, a near zero convex edge. This particular Gunny is handled in one of my favorite handle materials, and I got a dark spot on it. Anyway, this is antique ivory micarta. And I should have asked, it's listed neither as linen nor canvas. And if we come in and do a macro for you guys, I believe you can see why. It appears to be a paper micarta. Almost appears like a stabilized laminated wood, doesn't it? It is gorgeous. And then it has the red liners. Let's talk about the sheath for a minute. Don't know if this sheath was made in the lunchroom at Bark River or this was made by their supplier. This is the second generation Gunny sheath, I believe. Done a little bit of research, watched some videos on the Gunny Hunter, and the original sheaths, I believe, had the belt loop mounted lower on the sheath, which made the handle ride higher. Sort of, there were some complaints about it poking people in the ribs. I carried this one all afternoon, and if we look at how this knife rides in the sheath, I can't get used to sticking this thing in here lefty, because most of my fixed blades that have sheaths have right-handed sheaths. So the top of your belt is here, and the top of the handle is, not even an inch and a half higher than that. So it doesn't stick up very high, but it's not a very long knife, so it doesn't hang down very far either. Pretty nicely done. I don't think there's really a need for a retention strap and a snap in the handle, because you've got the retention snap here. It's not going anywhere. Oh, and by the way, it doesn't rattle. Probably because it's not Kydex. There is a provision for a fire steel on the knife, which actually works pretty well, because if we look around the edge of the sheath, you can see that it's double welted, and that fire steel loop is fashioned from that double welt, and then we come down to the tip of the sheath, and that double welt tapers into one. Obviously, the spine of the knife is thicker than the edge, which works very well. From a design standpoint, the sheath works very well. I will say this. This is not the best leather sheath I've ever seen. It's just, the materials are good. The construction is very, very solid. The stitching is good. The edges aren't very well burnished, and at some areas on the sheath, it's just a little raw. The loop that comes into the snap to retain the knife, if you look at the edge, not super smooth around that edge. And there's some other areas on the knife that are kind of like that. I'm not sure if that's because this is a lefty. Notice how these two edges don't quite match up. But, you know, I'm not one of those guys who thinks the sheath needs to be as expensive as the knife. So no complaint here. It's just nice to have a left-handed sheath for me. And I do prefer leather, except for specific conditions. So let's talk about this knife. I want you to look, first of all, at this beautiful satin. And if you watched my shop tour at Bark River Knives, you saw human hands on very well engineered belt grinder processes turning out these knives, and they do such a great job. Every one of these satins is going to look different, and frankly, this is one of my favorites that I've seen. But they're just beautiful. Some things that were hard to sort of discern from my video that are kind of important. Let me wipe this thing. I'm having you guys look at this satin, and it's got fingerprints all over it. Bark River actually outsources the first step of the grinding process. On most of their knives, they send them out for bevel grinding. So when they come back into the shop, they have like a saber grind, flat, and then they turn that into a convex. You'll notice my Gunny Hunter has a proper sharpening notch. Yay! It's just kind of amazing to me that 5/32 stock can come so gracefully down to a super thin dimension behind the edge. We'll take a look at how it cuts here in just a few minutes. I want to take you around the knife and notice that if you can see this in the camera, I'm not sure if you can, but on the spine is a very fine satin going longitudinally, and it's a pretty good 90-degree spine, suitable for striking a ferrocerium rod. Show you these liners and scales, so that the longitudinal satin comes all the way down the spine, around the pommel area, and then it changes to a horizontal in the belly of the handle. Obviously, it would be pretty hard to have a slack belt go longitudinal in this area of the knife, so that's why it's horizontal, I'm sure. Even with those two different directions, different processes, if you were blind, you would think this is one solid piece. You can't feel Corby bolt heads. You can't feel transitions from scale to liner to steel. Everything is absolutely perfectly finished. If we look at the squareness of that butt end of the handle, it's perfect. Everything is symmetrical, straight where it needs to be straight, book matched where it's curved. It's just beautiful. There's only one flaw, one thing I think I could have done better, or I would have liked to seen done better in my knife. And where do you think it is? Where do you think it is on my knife? Yep, in the plunge grind. If you look very closely, see if I can get this for you. As you're looking at it, let's see. Yeah. The left side of the plunge grind starts farther out from the handle, and it ends farther out from the handle than the plunge grind on the right side. So as we're looking at it, this would be the bad side. It doesn't quite terminate at the right place in the sharpening notch compared to this side. See how there's more flat from the edge of the notch here than there is here. I'll fix that. Now, to be fair, on a convex ground knife with a convex edge, it's probably not that important. But I know it's there, and I'm going to fix it because it's my knife. Other than that, this knife's perfect. You guys watched on my shop tour video, you watched guys at Bark River sharpening knives, and you saw that they tested them. So let's see if they tested this one. We're going to use, I don't have the defective paper that they have at Bark River, that kind of, it's kind of frayed and falling apart. I have a whole sheet of copier paper. Let's just see. So that was the first third, the middle third, and the end third. Oops, that might have been me. Pretty sharp, I think. That's paper. Of course, a lot of knives can cut paper, can't they? Let's see if it'll shave. Let's see, I might be giving this away. You know, the hair never shows up great on camera. Okay, it's copy paper sharp and it's shaving sharp. Before I put it into some wood, let's try my favorite test. And that's just Shooter Supply catalog paper. I bet it can't do this. What do you guys think? What? That's pretty good, boys and girls. Can I push cut that stuff? I bet I can't push cut it. Oh, almost. Not quite. It just not quite. So that is a factory edge. Haven't touched it to a strop. I've opened a little mail with it today. Now this is a convex edge. I sort of think of this as an all-purpose small woods knife. Hunting blade, camp knife. I consider this a bushcraft knife. I'm a heretic. Sorry. It's not Scandi ground. I got a piece of pine here. Obviously, since it's not Scandi ground, it won't cut feather sticks, I'm sure. This is an optical illusion, because this is a convex ground knife. And especially being, trying to work around a camera and a tripod, and there's no way that can actually be doing that, because it's not Scandi ground, it's not a bushcraft knife. Not the best feather sticker I've ever seen, but not bad. I'm being facetious, guys. Don't get your feelings hurt, bushcrafters, Scandi guys. Not bad for a factory edge, but I'll make it better. So before we go any further, I'm going to turn the camera off, go do a little work on this knife. What do you think about that? See you in a little bit. Okay, we are back. And this blade has undergone the convex TheApostleP treatment. If I can get you a macro without washing this out with reflected light. That's what we got. Came out pretty nice. And guys, those of you who follow me on Instagram might have gotten a hint of this, but here is the workhorse component of my new convex sharpening system. Right now this is wearing a sheet of 2000 grit wet dry sandpaper. If you look underneath the paper, we've got, I would say a medium to medium hard, about medium, compliant 9-ounce leather. Take one of my clamps off so you can see this. This base in the paper is 3 inches wide, which is 1/3 of the 9x11 sheet of paper. So there's what it looks like underneath. And the grits that I'm using out of the gate here are 600, 1000, and 2000. And then we've still got the same straps that you've seen on this channel more times than you care to count. So this is my convex edge system. I did sort of a mild reprofile on this particular Gunny Hunter. Backed it up just a little bit, thinned it out, and then put a polished edge. I did sort of cheat. I'm not sure that A2 is really a diamond stropping compound steel, but I did go ahead and use my 1/2 micron diamond strop on this one. Let's see where we ended up. As you recall, it wouldn't quite push cut Natchez Shooter Supply catalog paper. Guys, I'm sorry, but I used my last piece and didn't save the remnant, so we're going to have to do our push cut test with phone book paper. Let's see how we do. This paper is a little limper and more fibrous than that catalog paper. There we go. Probably a little better. I wish we could have a direct comparison of quietness, but there is like no resistance if I do my part with my cutting angle, which I didn't do there. Now let's see about the wood. Yeah, well, I guess we could cut a piece of copy paper. Too sharp of a corner. It's not much of a test. Let's see how fine we can feather stick with this thing now. It definitely wants to bite deeper than it did before. Interesting. That works. I don't know if you noticed, but it did get me. It bit me a little bit. Let's see how that edge is after being in that wood. I don't have enough good paper left. Doesn't seem to affect it much. Apparently, we got us a knife. Before we end this video, I did want to talk a little bit about a couple aspects of the knife we didn't talk about before I sharpened it. Oh, by the way, does this look a little better? Yeah, I think so. Opened it up a little bit, trued it up a little bit. The sharpening notch, the ricasso, the choil, I guess is the best term to use for that. Okay, I did want to talk about ergonomics of these handles from Bark River. And like I told you, I chose this one because it was the right length. One of the reasons I chose the Gunny was because it's the right length for my hand. And I think the grip you're most often going to use with this knife is that overhand pinch grip. If you notice, the thumb pad lays right in the belly of that handle scale just perfectly. I mean, that grip could not be more comfortable. It's just perfect. And the hammer grip, like you saw me using for Making feather sticks, it's super comfortable. The draw cut grip is great. The palm swell really excels in both of those grips. Now, if you had to use this knife to fight, which you could, it's really good in that grip too. Oh, by the way, the saber grip is also magnificent should you ever need to use it. And this sort of upside down draw cut grip with the thumb in the finger groove, excellent. How about as a paring knife? Yeah, that'll work too. Just a great all-purpose blade. Let's see how it holds up over time. I think it ought to hold up pretty well. Boy, that A2 takes a sweet edge. That's nice. Man, that's nice. Thought you guys would like to see that. Stay tuned for some more. I've got, I think, 3 Bark River customer knives in the house. Well, I gotta let you go, my friends. Time to get some Obanoffs on that raw, brand new leather sheath. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and my Gunny Hunter are sharp.